Bonjour, I'm Antoine. Today on interview, Jack Sivan, fashion designer. Let's go meet him. Hey Jack!
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm good.
Very good. Nice, Norman. No, Norman, you were not getting in. Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for taking the time.
Of course.
Okay. But let's dive in. Tell us, who you are, how long you've been living in New York City, where you're from.
Yeah. My name is Jack Sivan.
Okay.
I'm a freelance fashion designer.
Okay.
I'm originally from Boston. I moved here about 4 years ago now. Yeah.
You're lucky I don't like baseball.
I don't really either. It's okay. It's my failing as a Bostonian that I don't care about sports. But yeah.
Okay. So how long you've been in New York? 4 years, you said? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I moved here right after college.
Right after college.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a designer now?
Honestly, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to say.
Freelancing stuff is just a lot of different things at different times. I've had like half a dozen different roles since I moved to the city.
Got it.
Design work professionally,
Yes.
probably about 3 years.
Oh, 3 years?
Yeah,
Wow,
there's some internships beforehand which don't really count.
No?
It didn't do much active design work.
Okay, got it. Yes. So tell me, have you always wanted to be a designer, or did you get in by, just by accident, or is that something that, that was a path for you already traced? You said that's what I want to be, at a very young age.
It's pretty young. I guess it started my sophomore year of high school. I kind of just started. I never really considered clothing or fashion at all.
Yeah.
And just started being interested in the way it could be a language that could express things about yourself to other people.
Yeah.
Like just the way people communicate through how they present themselves. And
Yeah.
that mixed with the fact that I've always loved making things. Different kinds of art and sewing kind of came straight from that. It built off of just that love of making things into wanting to be a designer.
Okay. So tell me, what drives you to every day to create? What's your driving factor?
Creating. I just like making things.
You like making
I
things?
just like making nice
Yes?
things. Yeah.
Okay. So, personally, I've always been interested in a creative process. When I talk to an artist. So, where does your inspiration come from, and where does it start?
It really depends on the project. Sometimes I'll just be walking through a fabric store and I'll see a fabric, and the first thing I think is a thing that fabric could be when I'm done with it.
Yes.
And then I just make that thing. Sometimes it's just a detail, like a pocket or a type of collar. And then the rest of the garment kind of builds itself around a detail.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it's inspiration in the more traditional sense, where I see a person or just something that is not fashion related.
Like a word or a smell?
Yeah, some sort of more abstract inspiration that gives me an idea of a feel that I'm looking for. And then I'll find a fabric or a detail that'll build the garment.
That's great. That's great. So, is there, talking about, inspiration also, is there a particular neighborhood of the city that inspires you more than others, or do you get the inspiration from the streets, for instance? I know you said, it can be totally abstract and etc., but, do you sometimes, say, I'm gonna walk out of my of the atelier because I really I'm eating a snack or kind of, and you say let's try to get new inspiration, and do you get in some particular areas when you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically here in the garment district, just because so much comes from seeing a material that I like.
Okay.
But
it's not necessarily the people.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, because the garment district, you're always just running in and out of buildings. There's not really that much of a place to be.
Yeah.
But you do see cool people walking around. Definitely, like, I don't know. I mean, downtown Manhattan is just full of so many cool spots and interesting people just wandering around.
Yeah.
It's a good place to go out and just see how people are wearing things. Obviously Soho, like Lower East Side and the East Village are also good spots. But honestly, I love coats. And if you go to like any coffee shop in Brooklyn on definitely like in my neighborhood in like Crown Heights or in like Bed-Stuy, if you go to any coffee shop early in the morning on a weekend, people are wearing the coolest coats ever just because they rolled out of bed and needed a coffee. It's the most fun kind of
How'd you think about it now?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's not like people are, like in Manhattan, people all really put together. Like there's like someone styled them that morning. But in Brooklyn, people roll out of bed and they just have cool stuff that they put on. And it's kind of great. Like people either did something to it or they just found it. And it's early in the morning, so everyone's really thinking through what they've done. And you can just see people looking comfortable and good at the same time. And I like that.
So, let's be a little bit cheesy here. Andy Warhol said, everybody's looking for their 15 minutes of fame. Are you? Is being famous ends for you?
It's not an ends or really an interest. I don't think I like the idea of it, but I kind of recognize that if anything, it's useful to the ends of getting to make whatever I want.
Yeah.
If you have
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the idea of fame is interesting to me. It's more the idea that fame lets you work with whoever you want to work with and can give you access to whatever resources and material you might want. That's interesting to me.
Okay, got it.
If I could do it without fame, I think I would.
Yes.
And I think you can. I think there are a lot of really good creatives, especially in the fashion industry, that work below the radar and don't make celebrities of themselves. It's definitely a viable option. That's the type of caliber I'm more interested in.
Okay. Jack, right now, the ethos is very much to talk about sustainable fashion. What does that mean from a designer point of view? Do you take that aspect of sustainability into account when you design nowadays?
Yeah, certainly. It was my minor in college, actually.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's an essential component of any kind of design.
Yes.
Especially if you think in terms of what the end product you're making is. If the thing that you're making is going to be worn a handful of times, which is statistically the norm in most American fashion, that clothing only gets worn, if you're lucky, 5 times before it gets thrown out.
Okay.
Then what you're making is going to spend most of its existence in a landfill, and then what you're making is garbage. Literally,
Yes.
you're just making
That's
garbage.
right, I never thought about it.
That's the main output is just more garbage.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe someone enjoys it for like a season, and I think there's a lot to talk about, like specific types of materials that are more efficient and more useful, leather substitutes, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I think it's a core component of any kind of good design that you think about its long-term life cycle.
Okay. Tell me, do you have any designers that inspired you when you were, in your younger years, in your formative years?
Yeah, I don't think like I said, my interest in fashion started because I really like things. There was never, I know a lot of people who fell in love because they saw famous fashion shows and really fell in love with specific designers for the theater of it. And there are a lot of designers I really like, but I've always really been fascinated in the craftspeople. Some of my biggest influences has come from like really high skilled bespoke tailors using these really interesting techniques, and they're not usually the most innovative stylistic part of fashion. But I always found that really interesting, the way they're problem solving and inventing new techniques and new skills, and they tend to be very detail focused people. So I think a lot of time my inspiration comes from just seeing seamstresses at work and seeing the stuff that they're
Okay.
working on, especially in their
So it's
personal
really
time.
the craft that for you
Yeah.
that really.
I mean, there are designers who like. I
Yes.
love Vivienne Westwood. I just think she's
Vivienne Westwood.
yeah
Okay.
the coolest person ever to
Yes.
exist. Yeah, all the greats. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that goes to my next question, talking about craft. What is your favorite piece of clothing to make, and why is that?
I really love tailoring.
Tailoring. Why is that?
It's very structural. It's very spatially oriented. It's something you build on paper. Like literally you draft and you design and you make everything on paper and then think about it in 3 dimensions and build it around there. It's all about like the cutting, there's no draping, there's a lot of anticipation and building off of your plan. And also just the act of it I find really relaxing. It's a lot of hand sewing. It's a lot of kind of very subtle warping of materials. And I just like wearing tailored clothing.
Okay,
Like,
all right. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Is there are there any type of clothing you won't do?
I won't do.
Yeah.
I've never. Performance wear has never really been very interesting to me.
Performance wear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of the more avant-garde stuff has never been very interesting to me because I like wearing wearable things.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think those are 2 very opposite things that I won't do. Some things that are very, very wearable, like performance clothing,
Yes.
by which I mean like sportswear. Not
Sportswear.
things you wear to play sports. And then really experimental avant-garde things that you can't wear anywhere. And I like designers that can kind of test and play with that. Like Yoji Yamamoto is a really good person he's a master tailor, and he's so good at taking these things that are wearable and work and kind of playing with them a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he toes that line between very wearable and kind of unwearable at the same time. For
Yeah, that's very
performance,
true, yeah.
for like athletic wear, it's mostly I just don't like the materials. I just don't really like work. They're not comfortable to me. I like natural fibers.
Okay, so we will
yeah.
never see you in a
I don't think
wears?
I'm going to do swimwear anytime soon.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I always wanted to say, do you think that you could be a fashion designer anywhere else but in New York City?
Probably not in America.
Not in America, yeah.
I've thought about it. I like it here. Starters, it has all the resources you really need.
Yeah.
Materially. Also just has the infrastructure for the kind of press and business that you need to build a fashion industry, and it's got the creative scene. There are a lot of other creative cities in the country, but none that have the amount of fabric stores that this one has.
Yes.
Or the amount of sewers and factories in the city itself. I don't really speak enough other languages to go anywhere else. Also, all my friends are here. I don't really want to.
That's a very good reason.
Yeah, I don't. I'm really bad at language acquisition. English took me a while.
You're funny. All right. We talked about, if you had any favorite designers, but do you have any emerging new one that you really like that nobody has heard of that you kind of beside you, of course?
I was going to make that joke. I have friends I'd plug. A lot of my friends.
A lot of your friends?
I think there are definitely some that don't get an enormous amount of attention. That they're just kind of either niche, or I'm not sure who they're serving. Like there's this designer, David Hart, who has had like some celebrity. David Hart. He's had some celebrity collabs, and I like it. It's very playful tailoring.
Yeah.
I definitely think he's not as big as he could be, and will be soon. His work is fantastic. He's got great style. I think he's someone I think is going to be big sometime soon.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's been doing it for a while now, but
we're going to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
What do you think? So, Jack, what have you learned about yourself as a fashion designer? The school hasn't taught you. Something that you needed to learn, or you didn't really have it in you, but you have to say, to be successful or to be where I wanted to be, I need to grow that part of me?
There's a lot. I think the thing I appreciated most about this school I went to, I went to RISD to study fashion, is that it's very craft focused.
Yeah.
Not a lot of fashion schools focus on teaching you sewing skills while you also learn design, which is useful because that's what I'm passionate about. I like thinking through making things.
Norman.
I don't think there was a lot of industry day-to-day kind of work that was taught that much in school. I think I definitely didn't learn too much about most of the procedural goings on in a fashion company.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of that came from working in a fashion company.
Operation.
Yeah, my first jobs after my design internships, I was a production assistant. So that was a lot of overseeing the actual making of things. It was very logistical, and while not something I was passionate about, I definitely learned a lot doing that too. I also worked as a technical designer, which also is a lot more the procedure of producing things, not so much designing things and creative end of things. Mm-hmm. But both of those were really useful just to see how companies can be structured, how a label works, what goes on between designing and making things. Neither of them are things that I was good at or liked. I like the companies, I didn't like doing it.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I think I learned that both those jobs were experiments in other things I might do. I think I learned that I like making things and that I'm in the fashion industry to make clothing and not to work in the fashion industry.
Okay. So, I have a question because, you're saying that, some of your clients, how do you find your clients? Is that mostly on social media? Does the social media now is really a part of your promotion? Not only the promotion tool, obviously, but is that something that, as a designer, one, you have to be there, and two, you have to be very active on it to get new clients? Is that where people are looking for new designer?
Yeah, I definitely think
word of mouth.
Word of mouth helps. I think that's helped me a lot, word of mouth.
Okay.
Freelancing seems to rely very heavily on your social circle. So definitely most of my early clients were people who I knew, or people who knew people that I knew, who knew that I made things for a very long time and came to me with projects. And you kind of can build off of that through word of mouth, through recommendations. That's definitely useful. I've only now, after doing it for freelancing, not working, but freelancing for around a year now, only now am I starting to really get clients who are completely unrelated to me socially. That they're not friends of friends of friends, that they're just finding me online somehow through social media posts, which is not something I'm a huge fan of. I don't, I've only recently figured out how to be comfortable in front of a camera.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for being here.
I'm glad it's going okay, I think. But it's definitely an important tool so that people can see what you do and can see the work you put out. Because I have like a website where I have a bunch of work listed, but it's not as accessible as just having a social media page that could just pop up on someone's feed whenever. It's also, I've found, useful for getting jobs in fashion. People want to see your work and we'll look at like your Instagram feed as if it's part of your portfolio. Because you can illustrate not just your skill, but sort of a creative vision that way, your aesthetic, if you will.
All right. My last question. It's a tough one.
Okay.
So, if you were a tool or an object to bring your career to a greater heights, what would it be?
If I was a tool? If I was a
or an
tool.
object. It doesn't have to be a tool. It can be an object.
I mean, I've been pining after like a Juki industrial machine for a while now. I've been working on some like really well-worn but still well-functioning home machines. Like my Singer Heavy Duty, that is a workhorse. That does everything I need to do. It shouldn't. Somehow that guy's
really manages.
I do everything on that machine. But yeah, I mean, that's the
that's
first
what you
answer I
would
could
be?
think is like if I could get my hands on one of those Jukis, that would be amazing. I mean, it's just the perfect. It's like the pickup truck of machines. Like it's just for a job and it does a job.
Okay.
Not really necessary for like just whatever little projects, but like I do a lot of heavy work, and I think if there's any tool that could make things a little bit better, it'd be one of those industrial machines. Yeah.
All right, industrial machine it is.
Yeah.
Boom. That's it, folks. That was Jack Sivan, fashion designer. So please, if you're looking for a unique piece of clothing, contact him. He's gonna do wonders, okay? Guys, we need you all. You know the drill. Share, comment, like, subscribe. Very important, subscribe so you won't miss any of our interviews, okay? But in the meantime, it's
Selfie time.
selfie time.
Yeah.
Boom. Where is it? Where are my glasses? No man, where are my glasses? Oh, right here. I thought you stole them. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh man, you look good.
Hey, you too.
Thank you. All right, let's do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah!